Hi, I'm Tobias Atkins, CEO of Atkins Health, and I'm super pumped to be joined here today by our resident women's health guru, exercise physiologist, and mother of 16-month-old, Nicole Harnett.
Hello.
We are super excited today to be able to share with you some incredible wisdom, experiences, and journeys of some extraordinary women that we've had the opportunity of interviewing over the past few weeks.
From entrepreneurs to health professionals to business women to mothers, each of these has an inspirational story and a journey of wealth of knowledge which we hope you can take away and become a superwoman within you.
No matter where you are in life, age or demographic, we hope that this podcast shows you that you are not alone. No matter what you encounter and how hard womanhood becomes or is for you, we hope that this shows you that there is a way forward that is both prosperous, exciting, and fulfilling.
So sit tight, tune in, and be taken through our speakers' life lessons and journeys, and hopefully, if you're open to it, become a better version of you.
Today's guest could easily be described as living a double life. On one hand, she enjoys the simple side of things, getting outdoors and exploring the great outdoors and what it has to offer. Yet on the other hand, she is an attention to detailed scientist. Having studied dietetics and microbiome, our guest, Molly Warner, is a true guru when it comes to food. Dietitian or dietetics, is certified in FODMAP, gut microbiome, and intuitive eating. It is in the space of intuitive eating where she uses her incredible perspective on life to guide her clients to develop a better relationship with food and ultimately improve their quality of life. Molly, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Absolute pleasure, Toby. Thank you for having me.
My absolute pleasure. I just have to say, obviously, having personally known you, I simply love your personality and your demeanor. Whilst I know that your brain must be going crazy overload with all the knowledge that you've developed and studied over the years. I know that you're a massive fan of motivational interviewing, which I must admit I am a massive fan of as well. We actually use that style of treatment a lot, obviously in Atkins Health as well. But can you explain to me how you go about using these skills to educate your clients on what I know is a very, very complex biochemical kind of process that goes on within our guts or our stomach or just in our body in general that helps you then, and how do you educate your clients on all of that complexity when talking about eating disorders or dysfunctions?
That's a really good question, and it's so complex. You're totally right. I think with motivational interviewing, I love that type of framework because it really helps you to meet the patient or the client where they're at, rather than coming in as the expert and saying, this is what you should do, now go and do it. We just know that that doesn't work. We've got research to show that it's just not the way to go about healthcare anymore. And so with motivational interviewing, I'm engaging with people and meeting them where they're at in a way that sometimes it might be talking about fishing and then encouraging someone to eat more fish. And so that might be it as far as a consult goes, or it might go as complex as working out the different types of FODMAPs, which are fermentable different types of carbohydrates that might be interacting with the gut microbiome. And if that's where the patient's at, then we start there and we go into how it might be affecting their gut symptoms. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I like that. So what I'm gathering from that is you're kind of like looking at where they're at in their journey. And then you're kind of just tailoring that in your knowledge to kind of where they're at, knowing full well that you're going to get them there at the end of the day, kind of thing. Is that right? Did I pick up that?
Yeah.
It's kind of like everybody's.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're right. So like everybody's individual journey, so to speak. It's not just nothing set, and it's really determined by where they are in that space at that time.
Exactly. There's no way I can know exactly what's going to be perfect or ideal for someone. I don't live in their body. I don't know what their family's like. I don't know, very much at all until I start to get to know them. So it's asking a lot of questions, but then it's also hearing and listening and seeing where they are at and what they would like to achieve and what their goals are. And yeah, there's a great thing about asking someone what they want to achieve, to get them to think about it rather than have me come in and say, you need this much fibre and this much water.
I guess that's the accountability side of things as well, that if they're telling you what they want, then there's going to be more accountability as to how to go about achieving that, rather than just your ideal of what would be good for this person.
Exactly, yeah. And there's certainly, as you both know, in motivational interviewing, there's a part that you get to where people are seeking more information. And so then it's providing education in a way that you have permission to provide the education, and they're wanting it, they're seeking it, rather than feeling as though you're hounding somebody with information they don't want to hear.
I love that. I suppose what I'm like also picking up, and I obviously know this because, you know, we've shared clients in the past, and I actually think the world of your treatment and the results you get with your clients. But the thing I love about, and I hope that our listeners have kind of picked up from what you've just said there, is you're not actually treating their diet, you're treating the person, and you're getting to know the human being, which I just, you know, I think is so important and so missed oftentimes with, you know, allied health professionals in general, that we're so caught up in what is this condition or what is this, you know, eating disorder, and how do I solve that, instead of like stopping and thinking, no, wait, like what's going on in this human being's life, which is what you just so eloquently, you know, put across is paramount and most important.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Yeah.
So what exactly is healthy eating, and how important is the relationship between food, body, and health?
Well,
where do we start?
I'm a big framework nerd. I had this realization that as humans, we're trying to make sense of the world and our experience in it, and frameworks can help us to make sense of things. And so there's one framework that really it helps me to answer this question, and that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't know if you've heard of that, where there's a pyramid.
This is ringing some bells from uni days, definitely.
Yeah, so it's basically a pyramid, and at the bottom, that's the biggest part of the pyramid, that's our physiological needs. And within that, we have food and water and warmth and rest or sleep. And then it goes up to talk about safety and security. And then it talks about belongingness and connection and relationships, and then having self-esteem and fulfillment and creativity. But I think it really highlights that at the bottom, physiologically, we cannot survive unless we have food, water, warmth, and rest. And so how important is it? It's vital for survival. It's more important.
Love that. Yeah.
How would you classify then healthy eating? Because I mean, we've got Australian dietary guidelines, which in our realm of work is what we can comment on, but in your realm of work, that's going to mean something totally different. So if somebody is to ask you what is healthy eating and what is that to you in your realm, what would you say?
Absolutely. It's a great question, actually. And I think to answer it, it's helpful to think about what is health. Because health is something different to every person. And being the framework nerd that I am, I really resonate with the World Health Organization definition, which is physical, social, and mental well-being. And so healthy eating then is eating in a way that supports physical and social and mental well-being. And so to do that, there's different elements of eating. For the physical side of our well-being, it's sort of meeting all the essential nutrients, making sure that we're getting enough of everything. And that's often a big focus in my practice, is adding in foods that are going to provide the essential nutrients. And of course, we don't eat nutrients in isolation, we eat food. So it's much easier to think about in terms of what we call the core food groups, in that being the fruit and the vegetables and protein foods and whole grains and foods rich in calcium as well. And so that's sort of the physical well-being side of things. And then there might be the mental well-being side of health. And that's where we're not wanting anxiety around food choices, and we're not wanting rules to dictate when and what and how much to eat. We want some flexibility and the ability to adjust to different situations. And then with the social health side of things, we recognize that food is not just nutrients, it's social and it's traditional and it's cultural and it's a comfort, and it's a way we can help to soothe emotions in some ways. Of course, that can get out of balance, but it's so much more than just the nutrients in healthy eating.
What about the aspect of body image, and where does that fall? Is it physical? Is it emotional? Is it part of the social? And where nowadays do you see that that relationship fitting in with diets?
Yeah, it's a very strong correlation with body image and eating, and it's a very common topic in clinic, because we live in this society that has a quote unquote thin ideal, and we're living in this culture with fat phobia, which is really devastating in the way that it's come through the healthcare system as well, in that people tend to see thinner bodies or smaller bodies as better and larger bodies as worse. And so body image concerns are growing, and I think it's really difficult for people who do have a negative body image to then jump towards positive body image or body freedom, body liberation. And we're seeing much more of that through social media, which is fantastic. But I also think it's important to recognize that there's a spectrum, there's a continuum. And so it might be, if we're starting out with negative body image, it might be first being open to being aware of what the body is doing, and practicing gratitude and gratefulness for all the different parts of us that can move. And you must do that in your line of work too, in appreciating that we can walk and we can move in a way that feels good. And then it might be moving towards body neutrality and respecting the body and treating the body in a way that we might treat someone else, or we might see it. I often say, we can't change the weather. We can choose to get angry at it, but it's still not going to change it. It's much like, I don't particularly like the size of my feet, but I'm not going to be angry at them all day. So there is an element of acceptance that comes in there as well. And then moving more towards the loving kindness and the body freedom side of things.